Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK back at you with another video here to break down Friday night football. Yes, you heard me correct. Friday night football. We got Packers, we got Eagles, another $1 million to first. If this is your first time watching, guys, I cover content for daily fantasy sports, NFL, NBA, WNBA, as well as for player prop stuff like prize picks, underdog, straight betting, all that good stuff. Underdog, they're the sponsor of today's video. You can use the code DKDFS or the link down below for a $1,000 deposit match. So I would highly recommend it and having a lot of fun over there at NFL. Almost at a 20x second half slip, which we'll talk about here in a sec. Yeah, if you guys are looking for more content, you can check out my Patreon, linked in the description. So opening night. First, what a game. Chiefs-Ravens, incredible game. And this was by far my best ever opening night betting, DFS and for betting. So let's recap everything and kind of go through it. So just an absolutely insane night. 25x prize pick slip. You bet. Isaiah Likely. We talked about it with my posts on Twitter. We bet his over receiving yards. Also mentioned betting his alt receiving yards. Everything alt receiving yards. Mentioned anytime touchdown, that hit plus 650 at Caesars. I didn't have Caesars, but that hit plus 650. Made a YouTube video going over 3 prize picks, all 3 hit, and all 3 of my straight bets hit. Likely over receiving yards, Rice over receptions, Hill over receiving yards. Like I said, just an absolutely incredible day. 25x prize pick slip. Again, Likely all receiving yards, regular receiving yards, his anytime touchdown. I personally bet on Hard Rock. I had some bonus bets from I just signed up. Can't wait to get limited there. I wonder how fast it got limited. And then this was my main DFS lineup that I entered in high stakes. And Mark Andrews, man. Mark Andrews. Just frozen from Mark Andrews. It's a normal game from Andrews. And again, I'm planning my retirement. Literally going to plan my retirement. But 3 fantasy points from Mark Andrews. Again, Likely was someone that I was a lot higher on after digging a little bit more. Again, we talked about that in my post why I bet his receiving yards plus alt yards plus anytime touchdown. So just an incredible day. Put a couple other lineups in the big tournament. Came close and everything. I played an Isaiah Likely captain lineup that just beat this one, 136. I went Likely captain with Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Pacheco, Zay Flowers, and Rashee Rice. Again, you had Lamar miss Zay Flowers in the back of the end zone, and then Likely foot on the line at the very end. And then my other lineup too was Rashee Rice captains. We talked about this in the Patreon stream. How I was personally playing Lamar in my high stakes lineup, but the other captains that I were playing were Rashee Rice captain and Isaiah Likely captain. They both absolutely smashed. But my Rice captain lineup was Rice captain, Mahomes, Worthy, Lamar Jackson, Andrews, and Likely. So again, Andrews just could have had a normal game, and I would have been like probably 5 figures at least for DFS. But truly unforgettable night, a great game, and just hit everything. It's great. Hey, man, betting in DFS is fun when you literally just win everything. But yeah, we went over my DFS lineup. Again, this is my second half slip. Andrews fell down. I don't know if you guys are watching the game. He fell down. He had like at least 5 more yards, right? And this was a correlation play of playing into the game script of the Chiefs playing from ahead. So I took Isaiah Pacheco over his rush attempts. And second half is a little bit confusing. It just combines it. So like you'll see I wasn't obviously betting full game Isaiah Likely over 91 receiving yards. It was or over 50.5 receiving yards, I should say. It's again, it combines it. So went with the Pacheco over rushing attempts because I knew the Chiefs were up by 3 at half and getting the ball. And then took under on Derrick Henry rush attempts and then over on the pass catchers. With Likely, Hill, and Mark Andrews. Again, Andrews finished with 14. He fell down. This would have been another massive hit there. Still 2x my money, but that was very, very tilting. So that's a recap of everything, guys. I don't think it can get any better. So, if I can replicate that for this slate, I would love it, but can't get any better than that. Literally hitting every single bet, plus 4 figures in DFS. coming close to the big money. Okay, so let's get into the breakdown here, and let's just go top to bottom. We'll start off with AJ Brown at the top at 11K. Oh, first let's go over the odds. So let me just bring it up on my phone really quick. I should have had it up, but my computer keeps like freezing. Might have to get a new computer soon. Yeah, I'm trying to limit the amount of tabs that I have open. So it's a 49.5 over under. And the Eagles are 2-point favorites. So definitely a lot of offense expected in this game. You got AJ Brown at the top at 11K. We know how high of a ceiling that he has. You know, the guy can go for 30, 40 plus fantasy points. So if you want to spend up for AJ Brown, I have no issue with that. Devonta Smith, you're getting him at a 2K discount. I would say, maybe not as high of a ceiling, but again, he's $2,000 cheaper. So both Eagles main receivers firmly in play here with AJ Brown at 11K and Devonta Smith at 9K. Jalen Hurts at 10.6. I think is pretty clearly your cash game captain for tomorrow. If you guys are playing cash games, just the floor of his rushing upside, kind of like we talked about with Lamar Jackson in my video yesterday. But obviously, if they get near the goal line, they're going to sneak it with Hurts. So, Hurts looks great. He's going to be popular, but for good reason. And again, I think he is the guy that if you're playing cash games, you play him in the captain. You can obviously play him in the captain in tournaments too. But just the guy, in my opinion, at the highest floor. And I got Jordan Love at 9.8K. Expecting this Packers offense to be pretty solid this year. They're pretty talented wide receiver. They got Josh Jacobs, who I think is a pretty solid running back. So, the issue with Jordan Love, I will say, is if you're pairing him with someone in your lineup, who are you going to pair him with? We'll talk about that in a sec, but I think the Packers are going to rotate receivers. I think it's going to be really tricky to try to nail down who you want to play Jordan Love with. But I think Jordan Love, he really turned it on in the second half of the season last year. I think a pretty solid quarterback. Obviously not much rushing up to that. I mean, he can run it, but it's few and far between that he's going to be running the ball a ton. But pretty high ceiling for Love. It's just a matter of, like I said, who are you pairing him with? If you're picking between the two quarterbacks, obviously I'm going to prefer Hurts for a little bit more. But I do think Hurts will be a lot more popular than Jordan Love. But Love will still get ownership too. I don't know if it'll be like we saw tonight where Lamar and Mahomes are both pushing like 80%. I don't think it's going to be that high. Talking through, so let's talk about Saquon Barkley. He's 9.4K, going to be the RB1 here for the Eagles. Obviously I think it's an upgrade playing for Philly as opposed to playing for the Giants. We know he's a good pass catcher. Behind Saquon, you got Kenny Gainwell, who we'll talk about in a bit. I think this is probably going to be like a 70-30 split. I mean, could you see a little bit of Will Shipley too? It's possible. We've seen the Eagles kind of rotate backs. So maybe it's something like 70% Barkley, 20% Gainwell, like 10% Shipley, something like that. So, yeah. Expecting Barkley to get a majority of the work, and he's, again, a good pass catcher. So, I think if you're going to look at the two running backs on the slate, I give the edge to Barkley over Josh Jacobs, but not by a super wide margin. Josh Jacobs is cheaper. And we'll talk about, I don't know who's going to be playing behind Josh Jacobs. The two guys that are behind him are banged up, and A.J. Dillon's out for the year. So you could be in line for just a heavy dose of Josh Jacobs. Again, Jacobs, we saw, not really known to be an amazing pass catcher, but had a decent year catching the ball for the Raiders last year. So, again, pick between the two backs. I give the edge to Barkley, but it's not by a super wide margin. And then you just have this group of Packers receivers. So let's kind of talk about the main three, at least. Main four, I'll say. So you got Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, and Dontavian Wicks, right? Those are the top four wide receivers. I do expect, we'll talk about a couple other cheap guys here at the end, them to kind of mix in behind these top four. But this is the tricky part, right? You're going to have Doubs and Watson on the outside. You're going to have Reed playing in the slot. I think that Reed will probably be the most productive of the wide receivers, but looking at the preseason snaps, he wasn't playing every snap, right? He was coming out there a lot in just 3 wide receiver sets, not in 2 wide receiver sets. So, this is just the tricky part. I think if you can nail this down, like the Packers receivers, you're going to have a really good night. I have a really hard time with this. I think ownership is going to play a pretty big role in what I'm going to do with these Packers receivers, because I think they all look pretty similar to me. Like, for example, if, let's just say we got, again, Dobbs, Reed, Watson, and Wicks. And let's just say, 2 or 3 of those guys are getting a good chunk of ownership and one is going to be very low owned. Then I'm most likely going to take the shot at the low owned guy. I'm just kind of get leverage to the field there, right? As I said, I expect Dobbs and Watson to play on the outside. Obviously, both have big play upside. You're going to have Reed playing in the slot. He's going to be productive. He's going to get a lot of targets. And then you're going to have Wicks kind of mix in as well. Another guy that has big play upside too. So, yeah, the Packers receivers, I wish I had a better breakdown. But like I said, ownership is going to play a very big role in what I'm going to do tomorrow for these Packers receivers. Below that, you got Dallas Goedert, 5.8K. No real strong takes on him. I think he's a pretty safe option. You're not a guy with a massive ceiling, but someone they can look to in the red zone. He's out there majority of the game. He's running a lot of routes. He's at a pretty solid price point here at 5.8K. So, yeah, I think he's a very safe option here. That being Dallas Goedert. Looking at the kickers, both kickers are fine. I think if I was gonna lean one, I would probably go Elliott. But yeah, both kickers are reasonable options here. Tucker Kraft, Packers backup tight end, is questionable. Keep an eye on that. If he misses, that would be a slight upgrade to Luke Musgrave. I would feel a little bit more comfortable at Musgrave's role if Tucker Kraft is out. Tucker Kraft is in. I still think Musgrave's going to be the tight end 1, but you will see some Kraft out there as well. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, Luke Musgrave, decent value play. I think I feel a little bit better about Goddard right now, but still expect Musgrave to be involved there. Looking at the defenses, you got the Eagles at 4K, Packers at 3.6. No real strong take in which one I prefer. I guess if I had to pick right now, maybe a slight edge to the Eagles, but yeah, I think both defenses are in play. Obviously, it's a higher total game or projected to be a higher total game, but both defenses still viable. And then you got Kenny Gainwell at 3.4K, so expecting him to be the backup running back. Again, maybe like a 70-30 split, 70-20, or like 20. Like again, if Shipley mixes in a little bit, then maybe a little less work for Gainwell. He is a decent pass catcher, so that's a positive. DraftKings is full point PPR, so yeah, I think Gainwell is fine. Obviously, we talked about some backup running backs. We're talking about Justice Hill in my video yesterday. I was much more confident with Hill just because Derrick Henry, we knew was going to get phased out in pass down situations or 2-minute drills. Whereas for the Eagles, I'm not so sure. Like, I think Saquon Barkley can still be out there in those situations. But again, Gainwell's still cheap, still in play. Jahan Dotson, listed as the wide receiver 3 on the depth chart, did not have a good camp there with Washington, and they ended up trading him. So 3.2K, I think he's an okay value play. You do have a couple other Eagles receivers that could mix in behind him. Like, I'm not confident Dotson just is the clear wide receiver 3. So we'll talk about a couple of those other guys. We mentioned Green Bay and the running backs, right? So behind Josh Jacobs, I don't know. AJ Dillon's in the IR, and you got Lloyd and Emmanuel Wilson questionable. We'll keep an eye on it. If one of these Packers backs is in, then I think they're a decent value play. If they're both in, then it's a little bit unclear, I think, of who is going to back up Jacobs, or if they both kind of just mix in a little bit behind Josh Jacobs. We talked about Will Shipley. So right now he's listed as the RB3. I think he could play a little bit, not a guarantee. Really just a dart throw in tournaments. I feel better about Gainwell at a similar price point. Other wide receivers for Philly. So Johnny Wilson, rookie receiver, big body. He's right now listed as the wide receiver 4. And then you kind of have the special teams guy in Britton Covey listed as the wide receiver 5. But Covey's still a guy that can play in the slot. So as I said, Eagles wide receiver depth chart behind the top two is a little bit unclear. I think Dotson probably gets the most opportunities, would be my best guess, but still would not be surprised if you see a little bit of Wilson, a little bit of Covey even. And then talking through the other Packers receivers. So behind Wicks, you got Melton and Heath. Still would not be surprised if those guys mix in a little bit. So yeah, I would not be shocked if 6 wide receivers do play for Green Bay. If Tucker Kraft is out, then Ben Sims would be the tight end too. He is currently the min price, so he would be a viable kind of complete dart throw. We talked about Goddard. Grant Calcaterra is the backup tight end. The Eagles will run 2 tight end sets at times, so Calcaterra, playable, kind of just a dart throw as well. And then that's really it. I think we kind of talked about everyone that is viable on this slate. And like I said, the player pool is much bigger just because they released this, I think, before cuts were made. So, hey guys, that's gonna wrap it up for the video. As I said, just an absolutely unforgettable opening night of NFL. Hopefully we can keep it going for this slate. Also excited for Sunday's main slate. I'll try to get a video up for that tomorrow, if not Saturday. So be on the lookout for that, breaking down the main slate. But thanks again for watching. Again, if you enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And we'll see you guys